Hi, everyone. I'm Vladimir Jutit. We are following some breaking news for you this morning. Israel's military says it is investigating the possibility that it has killed this man, the leader of Hamas. His name, Yahya Sinwar. This would have happened in Gaza. Now, if this is confirmed, this would mark a major development in the war in the Middle East. So for more on this, I want to bring in CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio. And to top that conversation, I also want to bring in CBS News national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata, who's joining me from the Pentagon. Ramy, let me begin with you. I know we're awaiting word from the Israeli military. What are we hearing at this point? If they have not confirmed this killing, what did you first start to hear? When did you first learn that this could be a possibility?
Vlad, hi there. Yeah, that's right. In the 3 p.m. hour local time, about an hour 15, hour 30 minutes ago, the IDF released a statement, in fact, saying that during operations that it was conducting in the Gaza Strip, that they eliminated 3 terrorists, 3 militants. And the IDF are now checking the possibility that one of those people was, in fact, Yahya Sinwar, Hamas's leader and mastermind of the October 7th terror attacks here on Israel. At this stage, we know that the identity of those men are still not yet confirmed, but the IDF has added that in the building where those people were killed, where those terrorists were killed, there were no signs of the presence of hostages in the area. Now, I raise this because the understanding is that Sinwar always surrounded himself with hostages as so-called human shields. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did tell the IDF to inform the families of the abductees that there were no signs of harm to any abductees in that encounter. Right now, we're waiting for confirmation that Sinwar is in fact dead.
Charlie, let me go over to you. There have been reportings before this from many people who follow geopolitical strategies around the Middle East that if this man were to be killed, that could bring about an end to this conflict between Israel and Gaza. So how significant would it be if his death is reported to be accurate?
Well, extremely significant, because he has been the armed leader, or the armed wing leader of Hamas for a number of years. As Ramy said, the architect, one of the architects of the October 7th massacres. He is very much in charge of the military side of Hamas. He became the outright leader of Hamas after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in August. So he is the leader of Hamas, and he has been driving almost all of the military offenses, including what happened and unfolded in October 7th. And I can give you a little background, if you wish, about Sinwar himself. Yeah, so he was born in 1962 in Khan Yunis, the refugee camp. We've been reporting on Khan Yunis. It's been battered in the Gaza war. He rose among military ranks. He became known as the Butcher of Khan Yunis for the killing of several people, but including the killing of 12 Israeli soldiers. He was imprisoned in the 1980s. He was actually released in 2011 by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself in exchange for an Israeli hostage, or an Israeli soldier that had been taken hostage. But as I said, he is very much the leader of the armed wing of Hamas, and Hamas is an armed militant group, and his loss will be significant. It's also worth noting that his name has come up a few times in terms of trying to figure out a peace deal that he may be able to get, free passage out of Gaza. But almost every Israeli military person you spoke to said that he would never get out of Gaza alive.
Yeah, and Ramy, the question, of course, having both you and Charlie been reporting on the ground since this conflict began back on October 7th, a little over a year ago, which is, okay, Israel killed the predecessor to this now leader, Yahya Sinwar. I guess the question that a lot of people are going to have, Ramy and Charlie, you can jump in on this too, is, in other words, you cut off one head and another one sprouts up to take its place. Is there anybody within Hamas that would take Yahya Sinwar's place, or would this literally be cutting off the head of the beast and ultimately killing it?
Yeah, great question, Vlad. How it looks like is all of the leaders, all of the names have been very public, very well known over the past decades, and that may be the question that Hamas is wondering itself: who is next up to lead? If Sinwar is indeed dead, the shock is probably rippling across Hamas members across Gaza, along with the Middle East. But with his potential death, the mastermind of October 7th, Sinwar has long been at the top of the list of people to be assassinated, according to Israeli media. It leaves Hamas without that leader for now, again, if he is dead. But for Israel, here it would also potentially allow Netanyahu to claim a major success after more than the past year of striking Gaza, leaving much of it destroyed. But also for Israel, freeing hostages still on the minds of so many here. About 100 or so believed to be alive and dead. And I just want to share with you a couple things from Israeli media, again with the caveat that there's no official confirmation that Sinwar is dead, but from Israeli media right now saying that these 3 bodies that were found with large amounts of money and fake IDs. The DNA and the fingerprints are now being checked, and that's important because Israel has all of this from Sinwar's time in prison and also from a year in hospital, as Charlie just mentioned. Some reports now are claiming that if it was Yahya Sinwar, he came out for air, and IDF forces there eliminated him if this did happen, probably thinking that he was just a militant at that time.
So Charlie, I read an interesting report in the New York Times a few weeks ago that suggested that Sinwar was not actually interested in reaching any kind of a ceasefire deal with Israel, that he believed that the longer he held out and the wider Israel's scope of military operations grew, that he would be in a better position to force Israel to actually stop on their own without having to reach any kind of a deal. So I guess, again, the question now that if it turns out he has been eliminated, whoever is to take his place, would they be more interested in striking a deal with the Israelis?
I mean, it's a good question, Vlad, and it would be speculation at this point. But I think when we talk about the elimination of Sinwar himself, when Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated in August, ostensibly the political leader of Hamas, it wouldn't have an impact on Hamas itself. They were certainly the chief negotiator in that would have maybe had an impact on the release of the hostages, but not in terms of the military leadership there. We also have to note here that it's not just Sinwar who's being killed. Over the course of the past more than a year, top ranking Hamas leadership has been killed. So the second in charge, the third in command, fourth in command, they're all dead. So it will be a vacuum. Now, in terms of the negotiation, you're right. Yes, Sinwar, well, I think he realized that he was either going to have to fight to the death or negotiate from a position of power in order to try to find some negotiation. It wasn't going to be somewhere where it would be a surrender, as it were. So now we have to see what kind of impact this is going to have on Hamas itself, because the fighters are still fighting, but they have been getting clobbered for more than a year now. And he, as I said, he wasn't a figurehead. This is very much a dynamic military leader within the Hamas leadership.
And yet, Charlie, we know that both Hamas and also Hezbollah in southern Lebanon are proxies for Iran. In the wake of all those assassinations of all those leaders who represent these organizations, we know that the money and the material is, for the most part, supplied by Iran. How does Iran fit into all of this if it turns out that Sinwar has been assassinated?
Well, I think we have to pay attention to the fact that the relationship that Iran has with Hamas is not quite as close as it is to Hezbollah for religious reasons. They have backed Hamas. Certainly, they have armed Hamas. But in the case of Hamas, it's more been, the friend of my enemy, et cetera, et cetera. So at the same time, Iran will not stand idly by, as they have not when we saw the assassinations in Damascus and also in Tehran. There was a retaliation, a very large retaliation. So, we're also on the verge of an Israeli retaliation for the Iran bombardment that took place, where everybody here keeps asking every day, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? You know that U.S. forces are now on the ground inside Israel with another missile battery to prop up Israelis' air defenses. So this is cranking up. So, yes, will Iran react to this? Almost certainly. They'll certainly have something to say. Will they react militarily? Well, that's a wait and see.
Ramy, let me ask you about the point that was made earlier, that we suspected that Sinwar would have surrounded himself with hostages if the Israelis were ever to try to attempt to assassinate him. As you've all reported, it doesn't appear that this happens to be the case. The Israeli military saying that there were no hostages in this space where they conducted this strike. But what's the word on the street? Are Israelis perhaps, I know this news is just breaking, but are Israelis, have they been perhaps heartened by the fact that if this man were to be assassinated, that might be a glimmer of hope in returning some of those hostages or getting some of those hostages home?
I suppose the short answer to that is yes, Vlad. However, you also have to look at this through the lens of the constant pressure that the families of abductees have been putting on the government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. With that said, this potential, let's say potential success right now, if Sinwar has been eliminated, could very well turn the political table on that, in that Netanyahu could then say, look, although there has been a lot of pressure saying to stop the war, stop the destruction, stop the airstrikes on Gaza, Yahya Sinwar has been at the top of the list of the assassination sheet for Israel and its military. So this would be very much a massive coup, the biggest coup for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to say, look, a lot of you, many of you, most of you perhaps did not agree with me, but here there is this win, there is this success, and we will take it.
All right, Charlie Daggett for us at the Pentagon, Ramy Inocencio reporting from Tel Aviv this morning for us. Thank you both very, very much. Again, if you're just joining us here, we are following developments. The IDF in Israel is investigating whether the chief of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, has been killed. We are awaiting confirmation from the Israeli officials. They seem to suggest that it could be that this strike that they carried out took out the leader of Hamas, but they are looking into DNA, which they have from his time in prison and from his time in hospital stay. So once we get that confirmation, we're going to bring it to you live right here on CBS News 24/7.